Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. Today we have a very interesting old American coin to examine, and this one comes directly from the classic era of the Lincoln wheat cent. The coin we are looking at today is a 1957D Lincoln wheat cent. At first glance, this coin may look like just another old penny. It has circulated surfaces, visible wear, and an aged brown appearance. But whenever we find a coin that is almost 70 years old, it is always worth taking a closer look. So the big question today is simple. Is this 1957D wheat penny actually valuable? Or is it simply an old common coin? We are going to examine both sides of the coin, identify the date and mint mark, talk about its history, explain how many were produced, discuss its condition, look at what collectors search for, and most importantly, explain why you should never assume an old penny is worth a huge amount just because it is old. So stay with me until the end, because there are several important things you should know before you decide what your 1957D wheat cent is worth. The coin we have today. Let's start with the basic identification. The coin shown in our photographs is a Lincoln wheat cent dated 1957. On the front of the coin we can see the famous portrait of Abraham Lincoln. Lincoln is facing toward the right, and around his portrait are the familiar inscriptions found on Lincoln cents. On the left side we can see the word liberty. At the top is the familiar motto, "In God We Trust." And on the right side we can clearly see the date, 1957. Just underneath the date there is a small d. That small letter is extremely important. The D indicates that the coin was struck at the Denver Mint. That is why collectors identify this coin as a 1957D Lincoln wheat cent. And this is a great example of why you should always examine your old coins carefully. Sometimes one tiny letter can completely change the identification of a coin. What does the D mint mark mean? So what exactly does the D mean? The United States produced coins at different mints around the country. The Denver Mint uses the letter D as its mint mark. The Philadelphia Mint traditionally produced many coins without a mint mark, while other mints use different letters. So when we see 1957D, we know that this particular coin came from Denver. According to NGC, the 1957D wheat cent had a mintage of approximately 1.051 billion coins. That is a very large production number, and this fact is extremely important when we talk about value, because a coin can be old without being particularly rare. The 1957D wheat cent is almost 70 years old today, but age alone doesn't make it a rare coin. The reverse side. Now let's turn our attention to the other side. This is where the famous wheat cent design becomes very obvious. In the center we can see the large words, 1 cent. Below that are the words, United States of America, and surrounding the central lettering are the two famous wheat stalks. At the top we see, E pluribus unum. These wheat stalks are the reason collectors call this coin a wheat penny or wheat cent. The wheat reverse design was used on Lincoln cents from 1909 through 1958, so the 1957D coin is actually very close to the end of the wheat cent era. Just a couple of years later the reverse design would change. That makes coins from the final years of the wheat cent series particularly interesting. From a historical point of view, why is the wheat penny important? The Lincoln wheat cent is one of the most famous American coins ever produced. Millions of people have collected these coins. Some people began collecting them as children. Others found them in old coin jars, boxes, drawers, or collections left by family members. And one of the reasons wheat cents are so popular is that they are relatively easy for beginners to recognize. You don't need special equipment to identify the basic type. Simply turn an old Lincoln cent over. If you see the two wheat stalks, you know you have a wheat cent. And once you see that design, the next step is to check the date. That date can tell you whether you have a common example or something that deserves more research. Let's talk about value. Now we come to the question that everyone wants to know. How much is a 1957D wheat penny worth? The answer depends heavily on condition. This is where we have to be careful. You may see videos online claiming that old wheat pennies are worth hundreds, thousands, or even millions of dollars, but those claims often involve extremely rare dates, unusual varieties, major errors, or exceptionally high-grade coins. You cannot take the value of a rare wheat penny and apply it to every wheat penny. The 1957D is a high mintage issue, so a normal circulated example like the coin shown here should not automatically be described as a rare, high-dollar coin. For example, NGC's current guide shows very low values for circulated examples of the 1957D, with values increasing as the grade becomes higher. That tells us something very important. Condition matters. A worn coin and an almost perfect, uncirculated coin can have completely different collector values even if they have exactly the same date and mint mark. Condition of our coin. Now let's look at the actual coin in our photographs. The coin clearly shows signs of circulation. The Lincoln portrait is still recognizable. The date 1957 is visible. The D mint mark can also be seen, but the coin does not have the sharp, fresh appearance of a coin that has spent decades protected inside a collection. There is visible wear across the design. The surface has an aged brown color. The reverse also shows circulation wear. The lettering is still readable, but some of the finer details are no longer sharp. This is important because professional coin grading looks at many different details. Collectors don't simply ask, "Is this coin old?" They ask, "How well preserved is it?" What is coin grading? Coin grading is basically a way of describing the condition of a coin. A heavily worn coin may receive a lower grade. A coin with very little wear can receive a much higher grade. And a coin that appears to have never circulated can potentially receive an MS, or mint state grade. But determining a professional grade isn't as simple as looking at a photograph. Professional graders examine the surfaces, strike, luster, wear, marks, color, and other characteristics. This is especially important for copper coins like Lincoln wheat cents. The color of a wheat cent. Something else collectors pay attention to is color. Copper coins can change appearance as they age. A wheat cent may appear brown, reddish brown, or red depending on its condition and surface preservation. You may hear collectors use terms such as BN, brown, RB, red-brown, and red. These designations can make a significant difference when dealing with high-grade copper coins. For a normal circulated coin, however, you shouldn't assume that a particular color automatically makes it extremely valuable. The complete condition of the coin matters. Why high-grade coins can be different. Here's where things become interesting. The 1957D wheat cent had a huge production run, but very high-grade examples can still attract collector attention. PCGS notes that the 1957D is generally common except at very high grades. PCGS. That means the story changes when you move from an ordinary, circulated coin to an exceptional, mint state example. A normal worn 1957D may be relatively inexpensive, but an extremely high-grade example with excellent color, strong strike, clean surfaces, and outstanding preservation can be much more interesting to advanced collectors. This is an important lesson for anyone searching coins. Rarity isn't always about how many were originally produced. Sometimes the important question is, how many survived in exceptional condition? The famous high-grade examples. There have even been major auction results for exceptional 1957D cents. PCGS records an auction result of $6,600 for a 1957D wheat cent graded MS67 Plus red, sold in 2019. PCGS. Now don't misunderstand this. That does not mean every 1957D penny is worth $6,600. It is the exact opposite lesson. That kind of price is associated with an extraordinarily high-grade example. A normal circulated coin is a completely different situation. This is why online coin videos can sometimes be misleading. Someone may show a spectacular professionally graded coin and then say, "Check your change. You could have this." Technically, yes, but the probability of finding an example in that exceptional condition is very different from finding an ordinary circulated 1957D. Could our coin be worth thousands? Based on the photographs we have, I would not describe this particular coin as a $1,000 or $6,000 coin. It has clear circulation wear and does not appear to be an exceptional, mint state specimen, so we should be realistic. The exciting thing about coin collecting isn't making up a huge value. The exciting thing is identifying exactly what you have, and in this case, we have a clearly identifiable 1957D Lincoln wheat cent. That alone makes it a nice historical collectible. If you have this coin in your collection, there are several things you should inspect. First, check the date. Make sure it really says 1957. Second, check the mint mark. Look for the small d underneath the date. Third, check both sides carefully. Look for unusual doubling, strange shapes, cracks, missing details, or other unusual features. Fourth, check the condition. Look at Lincoln's hair, cheek, jaw, coat, and the lettering. Then examine the wheat stalks on the reverse. Are the lines sharp? Are the wheat details strong? Or are they heavily worn? What about errors? This is another area that gets a lot of attention online. People love finding mint errors, and some genuine errors can be valuable, but you need to know the difference between a real, minting error and damage that happened after the coin left the mint. For example, scratches can happen during circulation. Coins can be hit by other coins. They can be damaged by machines. They can be exposed to chemicals. They can develop discoloration. So if you see something unusual, don't immediately call it an error. Research it carefully. Compare it with known varieties. And if the coin looks genuinely unusual and potentially valuable, consider getting a professional opinion. Don't clean your wheat penny. Here's another important tip. Do not clean your old coin just because it looks dirty. This is one of the biggest mistakes beginners make. Someone finds an old wheat penny and thinks, I'm going to make it shiny. So they use polish, chemicals, toothpaste, or another cleaning method that can damage the original surface. Collectors generally prefer coins with original surfaces. So if you find an old wheat cent, especially one you think might be valuable, leave it alone until you know what you have. A natural old brown surface can be much better than a coin that has been aggressively polished. The historical story. Now let's think about what this little coin has experienced. This coin was struck in 1957. That was almost 70 years ago. Imagine what the world looked like at that time. There were no smartphones, no social media, no modern internet. People communicated very differently. Cars, stores, buildings, technology, music, and everyday life were all different. And somewhere during that period, this tiny 1-cent coin entered circulation. Maybe it was used in a shop. Maybe it was carried in someone's pocket. Maybe it was placed in a cash register. Maybe someone saved it because they liked old coins, and eventually it ended up in the hands of a collector. That's one of the coolest things about old coins. We don't always know their complete story, but we know they survived. The final years of the wheat design. Another reason this coin is interesting is its position in the wheat cent series. The wheat reverse was used from 1909 until 1958. That means the 1957D is one of the later wheat cents. After 1958, the classic wheat reverse disappeared from regular Lincoln cents. In 1959, the reverse design changed to celebrate the 150th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. So when you hold a 1957D wheat cent, you're holding a coin. From near the end of an important chapter in American coin history, is it rare? Let's answer this clearly. Is the 1957D wheat cent rare? The normal issue is not considered rare simply because it is from 1957. The Denver Mint produced more than 1 billion of these coins. So the normal circulated example isn't something we should call extremely rare. However, high-grade examples can be much more desirable, and special varieties or genuine mint errors can also change the story. That is why every coin should be examined individually. What makes a wheat penny valuable? Let's make a simple checklist. Number 1. Date. Some dates are much more desirable than others. Number 2. Mint mark. Different mints and issues can have different levels of demand. Number 3. Condition. Higher grade coins can be worth considerably more. Number 4. Variety. Some die varieties are collectible. Number 5. Mint error. A genuine major minting error can attract strong collector interest. Number 6. Color and surfaces, especially on high-grade copper coins. And number 7. Authenticity. Before spending serious money on a supposedly rare coin, make sure it is genuine. Final look at our 1957D. So let's come back to our actual coin one more time. We can clearly identify the year as 1957. We can see the D mint mark identifying the Denver Mint. We can see Abraham Lincoln on the front, and on the reverse we have the classic wheat design. The coin shows significant circulation and an aged brown appearance. So this is not the kind of coin I would advertise as a guaranteed fortune. Instead, I would describe it as a historic 1957D Lincoln wheat cent, with collector interest depending on its exact grade and any unusual characteristics. And that's actually a much more useful answer than simply putting a giant dollar amount on the screen. Important lesson for coin hunters. If you are searching through old coins, remember this. Don't look only for old coins. Look for specific coins. Learn the dates. Learn the mint marks. Learn the varieties. Learn how grading works. Learn how to recognize genuine errors. And most importantly, learn how to verify a claim before believing it. That knowledge is what separates serious coin collecting from internet hype. Outro. So what do you think about this 1957D Lincoln wheat cent? Do you have one in your collection? Have you ever found a wheat penny in an unexpected place? And what is the oldest Lincoln cent you have ever found? Let me know in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe to the channel because we are going to continue looking at old American coins, wheat pennies, Lincoln cents, rare varieties, mint errors, and interesting coins that people find in everyday life. And remember, if you find an old penny, don't throw it away too quickly. Turn it over. Check the date. Look for the mint mark. Inspect the condition. And never clean it before you know what it is. Because sometimes the smallest coin can have the biggest story. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned for more coin discoveries. And I'll see you in the next video.